Oh, I missed whatever was happening in chat, and then PB was like, my answer is, you are in my bracket. And it's like, oh, that's probably PB just being like, no, I'm actually still PB, by the way. All right, Senitz has spotted a decent amount of iron and some aluminum on this map. He's going to go ahead and take that iron very quickly. Would have been nice to see a black out of King Morgan on that close iron. Just take the next nearby stuff, suddenly put Senitz into a lot of trouble. However, it doesn't happen this game. Senitz is going to get away with his slightly risky opener, as King Morgan doesn't go ahead and shut it down. King Morgan is going to be the later one to found this game. He's actually found potentially a decent spot for something like scientific, but he's still not satisfied with any of what he's found. He wants a little bit more, and I have to question that. He really needs to go ahead and get onto the map soon. There it is. He's going to go ahead and also throw down expansive. He's trying to take up the aluminum. Senitz isn't going to have any of that. Goes ahead and claims the tiles immediately as he sings Is King Morgan Found. And so kind of the reverse happened. King Morgan Found's kind of late. Senitz is already HQ level 2, can get all the tiles he wants. And King Morgan doesn't get to shut out Senitz nearby aluminum. Alright, so that's a lot of aluminum and plenty of iron for both of these players. King Morgan having to buy up a lot of steel, which is going to be very nice for Senitz. It'll give him the option of selling steel if he wishes to fairly quickly this game. Just if he wants to make a little boost somewhere else, if he wants to kind of maybe push to that claim, maybe he'll be able to pull it off. Or he could just keep steel's price high and go ahead and keep it all to himself and keep upgrading. And King Morgan's going to struggle until he manages to get a few extra resources in to finish this up. I have to question throwing down 2 aluminum mines at the start of this game when your opponent has already founded and expanded as expansive, buying up a lot of steel initially.
1,000, 10,000, 12,000, 14,000.
Pirates for 14,000 on over to King Morgan. That's understandable, but I mean, what do you pirate right now? You pirate iron? Iron's worth $3 a piece. Even if he manages to get all of this, it's just not any kind of boost into the game. I don't think this is something he can actually get away with. Look at how much iron he has to sell just to get up that last little bit of steel. And now he still has to wait for aluminum to go ahead and come on in. He's not plundering any of that. So plundering like $201 iron, that's still just $200 that you paid 14,000 debt for? I have to seriously question this play. It's a very different thing from what happened with Senate's last game where, like, it was water, right? He paid a lot of debt, but at least he was getting water, which was $25 at the time. And so that's $25 is a very, very different thing from $1. Not really comparable. Means Senitz pulled in about 5,000 as opposed to King Morgan. Currently, he's pulling in like 200. King Morgan expands and goes ahead and takes the strong water available on the map. That's certainly a strong play out of him. He needs to get down on those water pumps fairly quickly, and he's also gone ahead and gone into very strong steel production. Senitz actually selling down his steel. Looks like trying to push to something. I'm very concerned about that. I don't know why he sold down his steel or what he needs these funds for at this particular moment. If anything, it feels like what he should have done. Maybe he's committed some of them into glass, but not all of it. And maybe he just sold out steel because he saw his opponent moving into it and he didn't want him to make any money, but still. Senitz has the glass bought up. He's sitting on about 2,000 funds with 3 steel mills down and then a whole bunch of iron. And this is where you have to be concerned about the sheer amount of iron that Senitz has. King Morgan pirated some of it away. That was kind of an interesting play. Didn't really go in King Morgan's favor, but it didn't go in King Morgan's favor because Senitz was making no money on it. Now the pirates are gone. It still didn't really do anything for King Morgan except give him a bunch of debt, but Senitz is still sitting on 3 tiles, making him no money right now, right? And that's definitely a concern. There's even an iron surplus, just to put a fine point on it and be like, hey, look, iron's not worth any money, guys, just in case you didn't know. Whereas King Morgan, he has these water pumps secured, and they're making ridiculous amounts of money right now for water pumps, right? $34 a piece on water? These two things together making good like $140, $150 a second? That's fantastic. So we're going to have to see this transition into power out of Senitz. He pretty much absolutely has to do this because there's nothing else he can really use the tile for. And it is nice to have that power, not acquiring debt the whole time, but maybe it's money spent on that tile that he would have rather spent elsewhere, right? Maybe he would have preferred to spend it on getting down some reactors, things of that nature, rather than having to put down solar panels just so he's not wasting the tiles he already has on the board. Claim auction for 3,000 over to King Morgan. Senitz is very distracted right now. That's not at all what you expect to see. That is just a nice little boon for King Morgan with Senitz not paying attention. And now we're kind of seeing the opposite effect of what happened last game. Both players making very similar mistakes of stalling out. Now King Morgan has managed to push to level 3, catch up to Senitz, managing to just make money on that water, and he's gone ahead and moved into electrolysis. We're going to use the fact that he's bringing down water's price and make very, very strong fuel and oxygen, and I would expect to see continual transitions like this out of King Morgan in this particular game. Both players also moving into power, King Morgan choosing geotherm again, whereas Senitz once again going for those solar panels instead of the worthless iron mines. So we'll just have to see how all that works out for each player paying down their debt, and if they can ever manage to make money off of these tiles. Another interesting thing to note is that Senitz does have his own water now, but it's not very good water production. He's only sitting on about 2.5 water a second, so he's actually already spending most of that in his just 2 reactors that he has down. Not making very much money off of it at all, but at least his reactors aren't costing him too much. And King Morgan, on the other hand, has gone into a medium silicon, which Senitz was very kindly making quite valuable for him by purchasing up so many solar panels. So that's a very good play out of King Morgan in this game. Kind of in a transitioning period, both players have good production up. King Morgan can expand momentarily if he chooses to. We should see that fairly soon out of him. Senitz has in fact gone for even more solar panels. So this is paying off his debt quite nicely, and he might manage to make money off of it. He has managed to commit to those solar panels fully. And we'll have to see if that pays off for him with actual money. Another nice thing it's doing is King Morgan has a lead, but he's not going to be able to kill Senitz anytime soon because Senitz stock price is going to be very high. Senitz also has gone ahead and actually scrapped out of his steel production, meaning he's likely not headed for an upgrade anytime soon if King Morgan's paying attention, and gone into food. But King Morgan is making the same play. He is also going into food. Both of these players making glass quite expensive. And both of them getting down very similar amounts of food production, very similarly timed. So we're going to have to see who takes an advantage here. I would expect it to be King Morgan. He's just a little bit ahead, but it's also going to come down big to the black market play. Who defends their tiles, who goes after the other players' tiles, things of that nature. Power surge is, we're going to see who gets a hold of this cheap power surge is what it comes down to, because that's all either of these players should be thinking about right now, is power surging the other player's food. Silicon surplus definitely hurts King Morgan in a way. He actually goes for that power surge, gets it down. Senitz doesn't even have the cash on hand to pick one up. So I do expect this food play to work out a bit better for King Morgan than for Senitz this game. However, that said, Senitz is actually making cash off of these solar panels. And when day comes, that is going to be a lot of money in Senetz's pocket based off of these. We're going to have to see more and more black market coming down from King Morgan, or additional solar panels for him in order to stay in this game very effectively. We also see a hacker array coming down for Senitz. A very aggressive play this early in the game, and those 18,000 pirates have landed, it looks like, on King Morgan's water. That's the best Senitz can do. Paying 18,000 for those, that is a lot of debt. And I actually think that was a huge mistake out of Senitz, because exactly what I was talking about a moment ago is not going to happen. When day comes, Senitz will not be making money. I don't think that was fully thought through for him. He's making money right now based off of that water, but he has completely sacrificed his ability to make money on power, which could have been a lot more, a lot better than his current pirate play. Now, King Morgan adding on to his food production, that concerns me a bit. He already had a lot of food down. Glass was very valuable to go ahead and move into, potentially. A fantastic tool after Silicon had surplused, and after all of these solar panels had already been put down. Silicon probably wasn't coming back up anytime soon, and a glass play after all of these farms had been bought up could have been a lot better option than moving into more food. However, King Morgan, he has managed to push to HQ level 5. He might be able to just keep going with this just fine and move into that strong glass production despite having put down all that food. There he goes for it, opening himself up to black market quite heavily, however, by having so much of his production next to each other. His one advantage is Senitz having committed to this hacker array, which is 70% done with a food surplus, countering King Morgan's massive amount of food production. Senitz doesn't have the money left over to black market. That's the one trick here. Senitz is also the one making money off of water quite nicely, because King Morgan has committed so hard to this food, and he's opened himself up to this surplus vulnerability. Senitz going once again for an energy shortage now. He actually knows that he has more power production. Well, he has a lot of power production. I don't think he actually has more than King Morgan. Might have forgotten about King Morgan's geotherm. So that energy shortage definitely concerns me. But King Morgan, well, he managed to get into glass. Senitz, you're going to have to shut this down with an EMP momentarily, a power surge, something. I want to see it, but it's not coming down. King Morgan is effectively making money. He's a bit more ham-fisted about it, maybe. He's being very aggressive and moving into one resource consistently this whole time when your opponent has a hacker array down is a very dangerous play. But thankfully for him, Senitz was going for an energy shortage. I would expect that to switch into a glass surplus now that the energy shortage has been shut down. And we're just going to have to see what happens. Senitz, I don't know if not selling power is going to work out for you right now. Your opponent just has too much of it to care. King Morgan, what are you doing? If that is more glass furnaces, I'm going to be so upset right now. That is more glass furnaces. What is this happening? I want that surplus, because look at this, guys. Yes, glass was making a lot of money. Was being the operative word. This glass furnace is making, oh, negative $11, negative 14, negative 20. Look at this tank so fast. Because look at how much silicon is being bought up. These are just not making money anymore. Look at how much money they're burning. Oh, this one's making negative 15. This one's on negative 70. This just... I don't know what's happened, guys. I don't know what to say. Well, silicon's worth a lot, and he has a lot of that coming in at least. It's just... Yes, turn them all off. There you go. Now switch them into something that makes money. Oh man, okay. Chem Lab's down for Senitz. Those are going to be making a fair amount of cash. This is a chem shortage as well. Not going to work out quite the way he wants for him because he only has a hold of 12 chemicals before they actually got power surged. However, at least they're doing something. And King Morgan has put himself into a situation where none of his tiles are doing anything except for his silicon income. Which, I'll grant him this. His silicon income is very nice. He's making a good $1,000 a second off of this silicon together. But maybe he could have used the rest of his tiles as well. I don't know. It's just a thought. We do see King Morgan has... What, was that a stock sell from King Morgan? Did he decide he needed a little more cash? Did he misclick? Because he needs to make this transition happen. He could just get back into reactors. There we go. That's what I like to see right now. As reactors come out, the chem shortage comes on through. Senitz went ahead and let it play out. King Morgan didn't buy into it yet at all from what I see. He could have, and he could have potentially made quite a bit of money off of it. Instead, he is going to throw down his own chem production as well, finally moving into other things that make money. Still maybe a bit of an overcommittal to chems when steel is $150 a piece, but still, potentially enough to go ahead and win this game. So these reactors should be making a lot of money. The silicon is still making decent money for a while. It'll come down fairly quickly now that all those glass furnaces are gone. And the chems, once again, riding Senitz shortage will work out very, very well for him. This whole time, by the way, as steel is $150, Senitz is nowhere near an upgrade. And King Morgan, well, it looked like Senitz went ahead and resigned since King Morgan managed to go ahead and move into some actually decent production. All right, guys, that was another game. It was very interesting. We saw almost the exact opposite of last game. It was pretty much the exact same as last game. It was just the different players doing different, slightly different mistakes, where Senitz was the one who stalled out early in the game with his overcommittal to iron. It's a very easy mistake to make in these 1v1s. And then I also have to be very concerned, though, about King Morgan. He was being a bit more sledgehammery about the whole situation, right? He was like, I want to make this resource, then I am making this resource. And we saw that nearly take him out with the throws on the massive amounts of glass production that were costing him ridiculous amounts of money very, very quickly, because there's nothing to sustain that glass consumption at all. And glass is one of those resources that'll fall off very rapidly once somebody has actually started producing it. But still, he managed to stay in the game. He got into food correctly that game, right? He made a strong play around food. Senitz went for a food surplus, but it forced him to also transition his own production once it came back online. He tried to make a play on chems. His opponent had the black market to shut him down, and finally, if he might have looked for an expansion, it just wasn't to be had because nobody was making steel ever that game. A few missteps from each player here and there, but overall still relatively well played. And King Morgan is the one who's going to come out on top. And we're headed to our first game 3 of the day. So let's get on over to it.